This is the Nutritional Requirements for Combat Sports, Sports Nutrition Assignment 1 by Adam French. This is a presentation content. This presentation will include basic needs of the sport, nutritional guidance, hydration consideration, competition specifics, supplements, and anti-doping information. This is a short introduction to combat sports. Combat sports represent a group of fighting disciplines that involve two athletes competing against each other in one-to-one combat. Combat sports include different disciplines such as striking, which includes boxing, Muay Thai, Taekwondo, amongst others, grappling, which includes Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling, and judo, and combination sports such as mixed martial arts. The physiological demands of combat sports require a high level of physical fitness, especially strength, aerobic fitness, muscle power, and speed. Competition formats are similar amongst the sports, as competitors will engage each other for 2 to 5 minutes and then have a 30-second to 1 minute rest period, followed by a further 1 to 11 rounds. Grapplers emphasize longer term anaerobic efforts, while striking specialists excel in shorter term efforts. However, both need a high aerobic capacity to sustain the high intensity and recover faster between the rounds. Franchini 2023 showed that the majority of energy contributions came from the oxidative energy system, varying from 62% in karate and taekwondo to 86% in boxing. The ATPC system contributed the second most, with 10% in boxing and 21% in karate. Combat sports include aerobic and anaerobic metabolism during effort and can deplete glycogen storage during training. Energy balance for combat sports. Kirksick et al. 2018 found caloric needs for athletes involved in moderate or high level intensity may approach 40 to 70 calories per kilogram of body weight per day. This could equate to 2,000 calories for a 50 kilogram athlete, 7,000 calories for a 100 kilo athlete. Estimated energy requirement for male athletes is 44 to 55 calories per kilogram of body weight per day, and for female athletes, 38 to 50 calories per kilogram of body weight per day. So for energy balance, we need to calculate the overall calories that our athlete needs for the whole day. And for this slide, our athlete will weigh 75 kilograms, have 10% body fat, and train once a day with a 1 hour MMA session. So calculating the energy balance throughout the whole day for an athlete, we've got to start with the resting metabolic rate. And this is the energy used by the body that is required for just normal body functions. So this equation is Cunningham 1980. So it's 500 plus 22 times the fat-free mass. This is 22 times 67.5. And this comes out as 1,985 calories. That is just for normal bodily functions. Our next section is the exercise energy expenditure, and this is energy used during exercise. This equation is by Ainsworth et al. And with this equation, it gives you a MET score, which is the exercise used and calories used during a training session. So the MET score for MMA is 10. That's times by the body weight, so 750. Then you can divide it by 60 to work it out per minute. So for an MMA session once per day will be 750 calories. The next section is thermic effect of food. This is the energy used by the body for digesting and absorbing the food every day. So for this will be the resting metabolic rate times by 0.1. So this is just 198.5, or just 10%. In this equation has been used by Worstrup 2004. And then for the next section, which is the NEAT section, which is non-exercise activity thermogenesis, is energy used for daily exercise such as walking or chores, and this will be the resting metabolic rate times by 0.15. And this range can go from 15% if the athlete isn't moving around to up to 50% if there's a lot of exercise outside of training. And for us, we use 15%, which is 298 calories. And then for the whole day, we then add all those numbers up together for the total daily energy expenditure, which is total calories from every section. And for this, is added up to 3,231 calories. This is all the calories that the athlete burns throughout the whole day, from resting from training, from digesting the food, walking around. And for the macronutrients, this slide will be based on a 75 kilogram athlete who's consuming 3,000 calories a day. So the first recommendation comes from Hoffman and Maresh 2011, and they recommend that 55 to 60% of the daily caloric macronutrients comes from carbs, 10 to 15% from protein, and 30% from fat. So this split is recommended for average people, and they suggest that athletes should increase the protein and carbs to meet their daily needs, and the fats are not as important for the athletes. Crader et al. 2004 recommended that 5 to 8 grams of carbs comes for every kilogram of body weight per day, and 1.5 to 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. And this is for 2 hours of moderate to high volume of training. Andretto et al. 2016 recommended that 54% of the calories came from carbs, 19% from protein, and 27% from fats. And this was an average split of 15 Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu athletes. And Ritchie et al. 2025 suggested that the macronutrients should never drop below 3 to 4 grams of carbs, 1 to 2 grams of protein, and 0.5 to 1 gram of fats per day. And the last one from Crader et al. 2003 showed that athletes normally consume 30% of daily calories from fat, and that if you're trying to lose weight, you should consume 0.5 to 1 grams of fat. And this actually links into the macronutrients above, as Ritchie et al. Said that this is the lower limit that fat should be for an athlete. Now moving on to supplementation. So Janowski and Lanes 2021 state that supplements have a proven impact on the effectiveness of training, as they may delay the onset of fatigue and allow an athlete to train in higher intensity. They suggest the use of caffeine, creatine, antioxidant, beta-alanine, and sodium bicarbonate. Cannataro, Starface, and John 2022 said that creatine is useful when the ATP reserves cannot fully recover, and caffeine is useful to improve the response time. Micronutrients are essential for achieving optimal health and performance, as they participate in metabolic processes in the body, including energy production, muscle growth, and recovery. And sometimes from our diets, we can't get the necessary micronutrients, so supplementing them is a great way to get them into our body and for our athletes. I've chosen 3 micronutrients that are most important for combat sports. So first we have magnesium. So magnesium is involved in over 600 enzymatic reactions, including energy metabolism and protein synthesis. Magnesium plays a key role in the transport of calcium and potassium ions, which is a process that is important for muscle contraction and normal heart rhythm. Zhang et al. 2017 found in several studies there was a positive association between magnesium supplementation and muscle strength and improved performance. And one of the recommendations for a normal adult is for men to intake 350 milligrams of magnesium per day, and for women 300 milligrams of magnesium. However, for athletes, they may require 10 to 20% more due to increased losses of sweat and urine for hydration, high metabolic demands, and suboptimal dietary intake. So magnesium you can take in the form of pill from like Holland and Barrett, or you can buy online. Or if you want, you can get magnesium from your diet. Over here we've got some suggestions and where you can get magnesium from. So chia seeds, spinach, peanuts, and a lot of fish can contain magnesium as well as soy milk, rice, yogurt, and oatmeal. So vitamin D has a significant impact on bone health, immune function, and physical performance. Hotlick et al. 2011 states that the major source of vitamin deficiency is inadequate sunlight exposure, and very few foods naturally contain or are fortified with vitamin D. This means that a lot of foods, as you can see in the chart there, some do contain some vitamin D, but not large amounts of it. The only large amounts we have are cod liver oil, which are actually just supplements themselves, trout, salmon, mushrooms, and some milk. Tirler et al. 2022 found that vitamin D deficiency in the case of combat athletes led to increased risks of stress fractures, muscle injuries, and respiratory infections. I found that an adequate intake for adults is 600 IU per day, and that's from the European Food Safety Authority 2016. And as you see, the supplements from Holland & Barrett, one pill contains 1000 IU, and that's plenty to cover the 600 per day. And as you can see in the foods over there, the cod liver oils contain 1360 IU per serving, and fishes such as trout and salmon have anywhere from 570 to 645 IU per serving. And iron is our last essential micronutrient, as it is essential for oxygen transport, energy metabolism, and many other enzymatic reactions. Iron deficiency is especially normal in athletes, as mechanisms such as sweating can cause iron deficiency, and this can affect aerobic ability, strength, fatigue, and mood status. Daily requirement for most men and women is 11 milligrams of iron per day. However, for athletes, it is estimated that 1 to 2 more milligrams of iron is required per day for athletes, and this can raise it up to 14 milligrams per day to correct iron deficiencies if there are any in the athletes. And here from Holland Barrett got another pill, so there's iron vitamins that have 15 milligrams per tablet. And over here we have the chart. So in breakfast cereals per serving have 18 milligrams, oysters have 8, white beans have 8, and lower down the spectrum we have tofu with 3 and kidney beans with 2. So now moving on to anti-doping. So doping is a current issue that threatens the integrity of sport and also the health and well-being of the athletes. So doping and anti-doping is quite a big issue right now within the combat sport world, as within a research study, out of 1,070 UFC athletes who were tested from 2015 to 2019, 93 athletes, or 8.7%, had committed anti-doping rule violations. These rules include taking these banned substances and having them on your possession, or even including missing tests for these substances. And these agencies include the World Anti-Doping Agency, UKAD, and USADA. And sanctions for doping violations include 3 months of ineligibility if used outside a competition, 2 years of ineligibility if your use was not intentional, like say a supplement was given to you by someone else and you didn't know what it had inside of it. But if the use was intentional, and then there could be up to 4 years of ineligibility. So when we talk about supplements in combat sports and sports in general, anti-doping is a big consideration for these athletes. Supplements should be undertaken with a side of caution, as there's a risk of supplements containing prohibited substances that you may not know are in there. So Martin and Sands et al. 2017 showed that the rate of contamination in nutritional supplements varied from 12% to 58%, and additionally, also 216 cases of hormones were found in dietary supplements that should not have contained them. So hydration is another big part of combat sports, as Peterson and Berg found that mean intake of water from the weigh-ins to fighting was 3.6 litres of water, with 44% coming from non-energy containing beverages such as water, tea, coffee, 30% from foods, 18% from carb-rich beverages, and 8% from sports drinks. And the maximum sweat rates from training are in the order of 2 to 3 litres per hour, and reductions of up to 2 to 3% can happen in many exercise situations. And Kayser et al. 2007 suggested drinking 500 to 600 milliliters of fluid every 2 to 3 hours before exercise, and an additional 200 to 300 milliliters 10 to 20 minutes right before you start exercising. So another part that is quite major in combat sports is weight management. And Franchini, Brito, and Artioli 2012 found in several studies there were high levels of weight loss, with 53% in Canadian Taekwondo to up to 100% in the Brazilian Olympic boxing team. So weight management is quite a big impact on combat sports, as the different weight categories in combat sports mean that an athlete may have to reduce weight or increase their weight if they want to go and fight for another belt. And weight management, some common methods include reducing food, fluid intake, pursuing active sweating through increased exercise, and voluntary dehydration in a sauna or hot bath, or just increasing exercise and gradually dieting. So weight management has its risks in combat sports, as Peterson 2013 found out of 68 combat athletes in the study, 44% were classed as hypohydrated, which is seriously hydrated, in the morning of their competition day. And out of the 68 combat athletes, none of the participating athletes were observed to be well hydrated. And rapid weight loss has its effects in combat sports and sports generally, as it can affect the body's ability to control its own temperature and hormone balance. And in the worst case scenario, rapid weight loss can cause death. This happened to 3 collegiate wrestlers who died of hypothermia and dehydration as a result of rapidly losing weight for a competition. Weight management should always be done under supervision of qualified medical staff, and rapid weight loss should never occur in any sports. So now we're looking at competition specifics for combat sports. So pre-competition, the aim is to reach our goal weight, rehydrating and building energy stores. So how do we do that? So for rehydrating and building the energy stores, we're going to emphasize carb intake for around 8 to 10 grams per kilogram of body weight per day. And reaching goal weight, we're going to either reduce or increase our calories and our macronutrients based on where we're trying to reach for our athletes. In competition, actually inside the fights, we're trying to stay hydrated, refill energy stores if completing multiple times. So within competitions that you only fight once, like boxing or MMA, you usually drink water or electrolyte drinks in between rounds. However, if you're competing in a jiu-jitsu tournament, you may be competing multiple times in a day. So in between fights, we're rehydrating and eating small carb sources such as snacks or fruits. And in post-competition, our aim is to refuel our carbs and protein source and getting rehydrated. So for our carbs and proteins, we're going to get 1.2 grams of carbs per kilogram of body weight per hour every 30 minutes for 5 hours afterwards. And then for our post-fight high-quality protein meal, we want 20 to 40 grams of protein. And then for during our training camps, we want to reach our goal weight and improve physical fitness. So we're going to do that through weight management and changing the calories and macronutrients based on our athletes. And outside of training camps, we're recovering, building muscle, improving weakness, such as cardio. And then how will we do that? So we'll do that through our protein and carbs for recovery, increasing our protein, and then think about our micronutrients. So in conclusion, so take a little bit from every slide. For our energy balance, for our athletes, we'd like to get 40 to 70 calories per kilogram of body weight per day, as this is based off athletes who are training for moderate or high intensity. For our macronutrients, we would like to see 55 to 60% of carbs, 10 to 15% of protein, and 30% of fat. This is for a normal person. So for us, we're thinking of increasing the protein or the carbs. Micronutrients, we're thinking of the magnesium, vitamin D, and the iron. And supplementation, we want to get these micronutrients, get the creatine, get the caffeine, but we want to be aware of what actually is inside of supplements, as we don't want to get our athletes caught with anti-doping or doping bans. And for hydration, so 500 to 600 milliliters of water 2 to 3 hours before exercise is key, and 100 to 200 milliliters right before exercise, about 10 to 20 minutes beforehand. And with our weight management, we always want to be managing our weight under supervision of qualified medical staff, and we never want our athletes or anyone to be using rapid weight loss techniques to lose weight before a fight. And competition specifics, when we're in a competition, we want to stay hydrated, keeping our energy system stocked, and managing our weight safely.